Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Okay. My brother was over today. It's July 4th. Happy Independence Day. This will be going up on July 5th. Gary came over and we did a bunch of readings for our twin channel after what I would call a successful live feed. Thank you everybody for those who joined us. We had a fun time with it. There'll be more of those coming up. One of the readings I wanted to do, as I searched the news, there's not a lot of news going on right now. Jack Smith. I've done some readings on the Supreme Court's ruling and, like what will happen with the Mar-a-Lago documents case, things along those lines. And I kind of want to get into the energy of Jack Smith and see what he's kind of going through right now. I don't know if he was floored by the Supreme Court's ruling. It's entirely possible that he's game planned a path forward for a variety of Supreme Court rulings, including the one that we got. To me, Gary, when I were talking about this, we cannot wrap our heads around this. This is just, this is beyond the pale. Okay, but let's look at Jack Smith's energy, see what he's going through right now, and maybe what his path forward is, okay? So, for entertainment purposes only, let's find out what's going on with Jack Smith. If we were just doing a blind read on Jack Smith right now, what's going on in his world? Okay. Five of Pentacles. I might talk to him about health or wealth here, but being left out in the cold. The cases that he's worked on are now in jeopardy of never seeing the light of day because of the Supreme Court rulings. But at the same time, really who's being left out in the cold isn't Jack Smith. He's just the prosecutor. It's the American people who are being left out. Now, the Mar-a-Lago's documents case is, it's classified documents that should have been with President Trump or with former President Trump at that point. But here's the deal. Those documents belong to the people of the United States. So him having those documents harms the people of the United States. The January 6th insurrection, that harms the people of the United States who had a free and fair election that was devoid of widespread fraud. It was a legitimate election. Heck, even the challenges, this is not Jack Smith, but the challenges to the New York criminal trial, the people were impacted by that. But Jack Smith has those two cases, and he's peripherally involved with the Mar-a-Lago document, with the Georgia RICO case, although that's Fonnie Willis's purview. But I think he's looking at, the people that are impacted by this in a negative light. And in some ways, he might be out in the cold, too. Crossed with the Celebration and the Queen of Wands underneath. So, people are being abandoned, or values being banned and left out in the cold. And here's the thing. It's a celebration to some and a mourning to others. It's wild because there's a celebration for taking advantage of the American people. The cases that he's involved in, they may be wrapping up. We got the Queen of Wands underneath it. To me, this is more the opposite celebration. This is the mourning here. Yeah, I don't think he's celebrating that. Queen of Wands, what are the next actions he's going to take? It's kind of like Jack Smith is the type of person who doesn't have time for a pity party. It's like, okay, we got a setback here. He may be, I don't know if he allowed himself a couple of minutes of pity party, but he's not the type of person to give up easily. So it's like, okay, what are we going to do about this? This is more like, okay, we got a setback. What are we going to do about this? There's a new challenge unlocked. I guess maybe he could look and say, well, we at least had 3 Supreme Court justices who still believe in democracy, so it's not all lost. The pasty of the 2 of Wands. I mentioned in the past that he likely was planning for all contingencies, from total exoneration to no immunity whatsoever, expecting it to go somewhere in the middle. But I think he had this all game planned. Current situation is the Ace of Cups. Honestly, he doesn't show a lot of emotions, but I think he's bothered. To his core, he's bothered. I don't mean like he's going to be sobbing, crying in his cup or anything along those lines, but I think to his core, he is alarmed. The Supreme Court dissenting opinion probably rocked him to his core. Just as being worried for your democracy. He's not going to show it, but I think he feels it. He's also a very passionate person, too. There's an intensity about him. He won't let his emotions show. That's not who he is. But don't think that they don't exist. He just doesn't show them. The overarching energy is the 6 of Wands. The victory card, or the look at me card. I think right now, the other side is celebrating victories. His opponents are celebrating a victory with this ruling here. But in some ways, I say his job's easier, but now he knows the rules of the game have changed. And now he has to change with those rules. The lesson to be learned is the 6 of Coins. I think his case is going to be diminished. You had all sorts of evidence, and now you have to present that evidence, and a lot of it may go away. So it's a victory for the other side if it could be a loss for him if the goal of the game is to incarcerate Donald Trump. Then it's a loss. But it's a victory if the goal of the game is to get the information out about the behaviors and actions of Donald Trump prior to the election. Judge Chutkin will have to have an evidentiary hearing where all the evidence is presented, and then we decide, she decides what is exempt, criminally exempt, because it's presidential actions versus personal actions. But in order to make that determination, that has to be presented at a hearing. So this could be a victory for Jack Smith because now the January 6th case can move forward again. For the Mar-a-Lago documents case, that's a different beast altogether. This is the lesson to be learned. The outcome is the 4 of Coins. This is a retraction. It's a setback. Basically, it's a setback. He knows what's going on. He knows motives. He followed the money. Jack Smith has a real, and you got the 4 of Pentacles, the 5 and the 6. For 5 of Pentacles going to the 6, we should be progressing, but instead we are regressing. He knows what Trump did. He's got the evidence to prove it. But because of a victory for those against justice, he's going to have to deal with a step backwards here. There is potential because, again, we can have a hearing on the January 6th information, and that can go out prior to the election. Democrats are going to vote for Joe Biden. MAGAs are going to vote for Donald Trump. It's the conservatives who maybe aren't convinced about Trump yet, maybe those who are truly patriotic to the country, might be, and they've lived in a conservative echo chamber, might be alarmed about the information. They never watched the January 6th committee hearings. So they may be alarmed and start hearing stuff for the first time about what happened. What's next for Jack Smith with regards to the January 6th case? These cards aren't really wanting to shuffle here. What's next for Jack Smith with regards to the January 6th case? It's a mystery. Secrets. Maybe secrets being revealed. What are we going to cross that with? The Seven of Cups. Integrity, illusions, delusions, and then the ever-popular Page of Pentacles. What's happening with the Mar-a-Lago document, with the January 6th insurrection case here? Well, we don't know what's going to happen next with it. You got to have a hearing because the Supreme Court has basically put a wet blanket over the actions of those that would cause, who would have an insurrection against the United States. And now we have to look at all the evidence needs to be revisited again to find out what can go forward and what can't. Page of Pentacles. But here's that opportunity to present that evidence. No jury. Nobody's going to prison for this. In the past, you have the Ten of Cups. This case, they isolated Donald Trump with this one. They built this case for speed. All the unindicted co-conspirators were left out. It was purely for Donald Trump and Donald Trump alone. And it makes me wonder if he'll go after instead of going after Trump, maybe they'll bring indictments against the co-conspirators. But we'll see on that one. In the past, we got the Ten of Cups. I think this case was a slam dunk lock until the Supreme Court did what they did. So now there's quick changes that need to happen with it. Judge Chutkan might have this hearing a lot sooner rather than later. Overarching energy is the Hierophant. Yeah, so this is the courts. There's going to be messaging, quick messaging. There's going to be some quick changes on the court. Again, Judge Chutkan was going to give about 90 days after the Supreme Court ruling before they started the trial. But now they can't start the trial because of the whole immunity issue. So now we have to have a hearing to find out if we actually have a case. Lesson to be learned. It's a new beginning, but it's a different beginning. It's a parallel course beginning with this hearing. The outcome with this hearing is that they're going to have to go through the evidence that's being presented and what can be kept versus what can be tossed out. Is there going to be a loss in that evidence and the culpability that comes with that? It might just be that a lot of the evidence can't go in there because the way the Supreme Court phrased this, their ruling, there may not be anything for Jack Smith to charge him on. If he declares it a presidential act, then it's got the presumption of immunity. And then you have to go get rid of that immunity. But you can't use any of the president's words or actions or deeds to support that motive that would show that it was a non-presidential act. This is just such a mess. The Supreme Court has made an absolute debacle of our country for one reason only, and that's to protect Donald Trump. Mar-a-Lago documents case. What's going to happen with Jack Smith with the Mar-a-Lago documents case? Especially, again, Clarence Thomas was telling Judge Cannon that he doesn't think Jack Smith was legitimately appointed. So what's going to happen with Jack Smith, the energy around the Mar-a-Lago documents case? Again, messaging that's going to be coming quickly with that. King of Cups. There's going to have to be some emotional maturity taken here. Queen of Swords. And there's going to be a ruling, a harsh ruling on this. Again, think of that as Jack Smith being a passionate person. In the past, got the Queen of Pentacles. This case, you have secret documents. It's a very black and white case. Very black and white case indeed. Easy to get the grand jury testimony. Everything was all systems go. And now being offered information that he doesn't like, choices that he doesn't agree with here. Overarching energy. You have a Supreme Court justice saying, it's time for you to go. He's not legitimately appointed. Which should have been a case that was easily triable prior to the election has been delayed, and now there's the threat of him being removed. The lesson to be learned, this, a lot of money changing hands here. And I think the Supreme Court, a ton of evidence about wrongdoings with Trump, and the Supreme Court's corrupt ruling being bought and paid for. Out comes the Six of Pentacles. You have all this evidence, and so much of it's going to be going away. It would not surprise me even a little bit to find that the money trail leads to Judge Cannon. Money's impacting the judgment here. I was wondering if he was going to be kicked off of this. If he's not removed as a special counsel, there's a lot of pressure to get him removed. With Judge Thomas basically saying he was not a legitimately appointed special counsel. He should have never had all the money and resources that they had. And, all the information that went to the grand jury was illegally gotten. So, if you want to prosecute this case, you go right ahead. But you have to get a properly nominated special counsel. And you basically have to start over again, type of thing. Yeah. That's just setbacks. These are frustrating. Alright. Do I have anything uplifting for you? What's okay, spiritual message. What's the spiritual message Jack Smith is supposed to learn from this? He's kind of a hard guy to read. I'm not at all confident with these cards here. I think he's pretty good at blocking out folks from reading him. I got the Betrayal card popping up there. And the Page of Pentacles. What's next for Jack Smith? Or should I say, what's the spiritual lesson for Jack Smith from what looks like it's going to be some setbacks here? A little four-carder. We'll end it at this point. Okay? Come on down. Four of Pentacles. Wow, same outcome as the January 6th diminishment. He knows information, and there's people that don't want information to get out. How the system is being gamed to prevent valuable information from making it to the American public. Not that I'm sure he had his eyes wide open, but if they weren't wide open before, they are now. We got the Queen of Swords, the Death card, the Three of Pentacles, and the Fool card. What's he supposed to learn? Some people want information to be kept secret, and he may have to start a new journey. His journey exposed a lot that people were not expecting to be exposed. And they wanted to put an end to his investigation. So even the Supreme Court got together and came up with rulings on that. And the ruling in between Judge Cannon and them, they put an end to his investigations because they did not want that information out. So what is he learning from that? It's getting him exposed to the level of corruption in the United States. Just how far it goes. It starts at the top. It's at the brains of the United States. It's at the heart of the United States. And it's in the money centers of the United States. So, with the Supreme Court, the judicial system, as well as the money that influences those. And it can even bring an end to an investigation that was a very cut and dry investigation about stolen documents. Even the most simple investigations is being quashed. And so I think it gives him a perspective of just how far the corruption goes in the United States. Now, when I did a reading last night on the live channel, on the live reading with my brother, I'm wondering if he's going to be tapped to investigate the Supreme Court. I think that would be a lovely. Oh, you don't want him looking at the Mar-a-Lago documents case. Oh, you don't want him looking at the January 6th case. Okay, let's start with the Supreme Court. And let's do an investigation there. I think he would be a great person for that, and he might bring forward a lot of results that we look forward to seeing. If there's any corruption there, I'm sure he'd get to the bottom of it. Thank you very much for watching this video and supporting my channel. I appreciate it. I hope you found this reading insightful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.